in lieu of and in wake of everything that is going on in the world today. With George Floyd's murder, along with Drew Brees, quarterback for New Orleans Saints, comments he made in reference to the people who protest against what the American flag stands for. And as I sit back, and of course, the news media, their job is to keep things going. Their job is to keep things going in such a manner, in such a way, to incite and enrage and inflame the public, or to keep a story going, because when you don't have nothing else to talk about, if you notice, nobody's talking about COVID-19 right now. Nobody is talking about COVID-19. As a matter of fact, COVID-19 has done taken a back seat to the protest of George Floyd, and nobody's practicing social distancing anymore. I said all that to say this, and I just got finished having a talk with Mother Carol on forgiveness. And I know exactly what the book says about forgiveness. I do. I also know the power of unforgiveness and who it hurts. It doesn't hurt the person like people would think that should be forgiven. It actually hurts the person that won't forgive. And so I heard Shannon Sharp say something on Undisputed. And he said that because Tony Dungy, which is a former coach of the Indianapolis Colts, he came out and he said, Tony Dungy, if a person has 95% bad, and if they got 5% good, Tony Dungy will grasp a hold of that 5% good, and then he would, hold on to that and latch on that. And then Tony Dungy is also the damage control for someone in the NFL or for public relations anytime the court of public opinion go against the sentiments. Now, for instance, Drew Brees said something in reference to, he'll always be staunch, he'll always stand, and he can't find himself respecting someone who disrespects and dishonors the military. Now, the spin is in because apparently according to the NFL players, football players, and I've got a few of them here in the ministry that's retired football players, the locker room is such an area that everybody is open and everybody knows where people stand, and they have a very heated dialogue and conversations, all right? And when you have very heated dialogue and conversations and stuff, and then you go out and you change, and I heard somebody else say the other day that Drew Brees has always kept the same opinion that he's had ever since either 2016 or 17, but the public has changed since then. And of course, we're watching everything change. But you know what? The one thing that doesn't change is that word that is written down in that book. And so I just had to talk with Mother Carol, and I said, okay, forgiveness. I said, okay, when you forgive someone, who determines what their level of forgiveness is? I mean, because after all, there are many accounts in the book that, when you forgive someone, forgive means forget. Forgive means to cast it behind. I can go on and on and on and on and on. All right. But Shannon Sharp said he's got to earn that forgiveness. Okay. Now, I understand that the book says you bring forth fruit that meet repentance. So we got a lot of questions to answer here. And this is both on the secular side as well as the religious side of things. When someone forgives you, and this is how we are as people. There's a story in the book, in the Bible, that speaks about a man that had a great debt, and he had all that he had forgiven him. But then when it came time for him to turn around and forgive someone, he didn't do it, couldn't do it. And he wanted so much revenge, and he's wanted so much to put the people, or the man that wronged him over 100 pence when he owed 1,000 pence or 10,000 pence. He owed a great debt, and the king forgave him. But when it came time to him forgive, he couldn't do it. And he wanted pain, he wanted suffering, he wanted vengeance. That's what he wanted. And then the servants of the king saw that this man, and how he grabbed this man by the neck, grabbed him by the throat, and said, "You're going to pay me all that you have." He threw one of his wife, his children, everybody thrown in prison. So his servants of the king, when saw what was happening, went back to the king. The guy that had been forgiven a great debt, he was paraded up in front of the king. And when he got paraded up in front of the king said, "You are a wicked and obstinate servant. I forgave you all your debt. And I had pity on you, compassion on you. Should you not have pity and compassion on your fellow servant?" And then he turned around and threw him to the tormentors until all was paid. He already forgiven. Now, in this situation right here, Drew Brees had already turned around and said he was sorry. And you know how it is. Whenever people are so passionate about something, get hurt by something, you throw the book out. You become God yourself. And all of a sudden, you become judge, jury, executioner. You hold people's heart and change and sway and all this other stuff. And we supposed to sit up there and wait around for you to get it right. You know, is Drew Brees supposed to sit around and wait for the court of public opinion to get it right, even after he's already done said he's sorry, but the news media keep pushing the narrative? You see, if I was Drew Brees, you know, hey, I would still keep my same posture, because the truth is, when people are saying, you know, there needs to be a time of reproving, or there needs to be some fruit that meet repentance, the only fruit that there is the fruit of the Spirit. The fruit is not determined based on the person that was a wrong or allegedly wrong. They don't get to determine the fruit. You can't allow yourself to let someone become God for you. You can't allow someone to sit up there and hold your heart or hold you in chains. What you need to do is, when you know for sure that you have had godly sorrow that worketh repentance, not to be repented of again, you know that. As long as you met the conditions, you've done it right, you get it right with the Father, you move on, because people find it hard and difficult. And I can guarantee you that the news media is simply not going to let this go, because it's a story. It's not going to let it go. And everybody act like they're so passionate about the story when everybody has opinion. My words and sentiment to Drew Brees and anyone else is out there, after you've already met the conditions of saying you're sorry, you don't have to get back out in the court of public opinion and apologize again and keep going until you appease man's conscience, because they damn conscience ain't never going to be appeased. The problem is they got a wicked heart. Now, you ask them, if the shoe was turned and flipped on the other side, they will want understanding. They will want compassion. They will want someone to be benevolent. They will want someone to be understanding. They will want someone just to take your word at face value and then move on. And let's go ahead and let's turn the page, go on to another chapter and all of the blasé stuff. But boy, we really, truly are a bunch of hypocrites when we really, truly forget the tenements and the mandates and the sentiments of not only what the Bible has to say, but how that you yourself are full of inconsistencies. You yourselves are full of wrongs. And you have done other people wrong, and you ain't even met the conditions. But yet, because of a story, and yet because of position, and yet because of your own personal convictions or sway or power, you can't, all of a sudden, your book of the law is greater than the creator universe, or your book of the law is greater than what is already written, because the Bible teaches that the fruit, the only fruit that anyone can judge anybody by is Galatians 5, that says the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness, faith, temperance, and such alike. Against such there's no law. So someone can be meek, they can be humble, they can be gentle, they can be showing all the fruit. And yet if your wicked ass heart ain't converted, it ain't right, you're going to sit up there and talk about this man and keep on pushing it because you're injured in some point, when he's already done met the conditions. I know, well, if it came out of his mouth, it came from his heart. Yeah, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. But the mouth also is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. If it never did come out, even he wouldn't even know how wicked his heart was. You wouldn't even know how wicked your heart was. All experiences that take place in life, that includes, I've been working on a marriage instrument that includes, I accept you for all your inconsistencies. I accept you for who you are, and to work through that. All right. That's what's in the certificate. Okay. All right. So Nobody on this earth is perfect. Not one damn soul. And they ain't never going to be perfect. In any way, shape, fashion, form, they could go on to perfection, but they ain't nobody damn perfect. Period, point blank. And so what he needs to do is, after you've already met conditions, and you sit there and you watch people, and you need to start taking notes of when you've already met the conditions and people still have issues and trouble with you. You need to start taking notes. And what you do is harden your heart against those wicked people, but not to do wicked against them. You say that, since, you know what, I met the conditions, you can't meet the conditions of what the book puts and lays in your court. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and stay around here and allow myself to be injured by you or your words. Don't turn on the TV. Don't listen to whatever they got to say, and know who's the one to keep doubling down on you. Because they keep doubling down on you, you know that their heart is not indicted in a good matter, and there's something more at stake than just forgiveness. We're talking about control right here. Because a quarterback in the NFL, he already got to be careful about what he says, because he's the face of a franchise. And even though I'm speaking about the quarterback in the NFL right now, I'm talking about in every aspect of life, period, point blank. Now, everything that happens in life is a test and it's a trial to see where you are at. Don't you ever let someone think that their book of the law is greater than the book. And if they can't meet the conditions when they expect for you to meet the conditions, then you know what you do? You grab a hold of your peace, hold your head up high, and hold on to Yah, and be at peace and walk on in the newness of life. That's Pastor Dowell. You may want to come over and consider listening to my Patreon channel. I'll put a link down below.